Hi everyone, Ellie Jacobson here for Advanced Advantage Play, and today I want to talk about a viewer email question that is not voodoo, but also not advantage play. It sits right in that delicate balance where somebody's actually asking a very smart question that is just about basic strategy for baccarat. So let's get right to it. So I have a PowerPoint, and the title of the PowerPoint is Banker. Banker! Banker? All right, we'll see what we're talking about here in just a second. Let's get right to that. So here is the email. Hi, Mr. Jacobson. Okay, let me be snobby. Please call me professor or doctor. I've got a PhD in mathematics. I was a professor at a university for 29 years. All right, my name is, I blanked that out. My question is, will I lose money over time if I bet on Banker all the time in easy baccarat where there is no commission? Just to remind you, easy baccarat is just ordinary baccarat without a commission for Banker bets, but with this added rule that if you bet on Banker and Banker has a 3-card winning total of 7, then rather than getting paid on that bet is a push. So let's see the question. Will I lose money over time if I bet on Banker? Well, what do you think my answer to this was? I think you'll get it right away. Yes. All right, that's my answer. Honestly, that was my entire email response, was just this one word, yes. I can see how that wasn't quite enough for him, so he wrote back and he said, do you mind if you explain how? It's been said, I don't know who does the saying, that the Banker has a slightly statistical advantage. True, Banker does win slightly more often than player. So doesn't that mean that in the long term you're going to be close to 50-50? No, you'll be, in the long term, you'll be whatever the odds are for Banker and player, which is not exactly 50-50. So in the long term, you're going to be close to 50-50 by betting on the Banker every hand if there is no commission. Great question, great question. So let me just dive right into the math that's behind this. So here is, I need to tell you the math, show you the exact edge for player and Banker so you can see what's going on here. So if you look under this column P in this table, this tells you how often that particular wager wins. So we see that the player wager wins about 0.446247. That's about 44.6% of the time. Banker wins about 45.8597% of the time. So yes, statistically, Banker wins slightly more often than player. And because of that, if you bet on player, you will lose slightly more often than you win. And therefore, there's a house edge. And you see in the lower right-hand corner the house edge of 1.2351. Now, if there was no commission at all on ordinary baccarat, right, no special rules, just no commission, then betting on Banker would simply flip this around. And in other words, you would lose 1 unit betting on player and win 1 unit betting on Banker. And when you figure that all out, you would actually have the advantage over the house. You would be ahead of the house at 1.235%. You would have that much edge over the house. So casinos can't let you have the edge. So consequently, they charge a 5% commission. And when you plug that 5% in, you see in that EV column there, that 0.95, that's the amount you win if you bet on Banker in a commission game. And you do this mathematics, and you see in this case, we also have the negative sign, minus 1.058%. So the rule is that you bet on Banker here, right? Because Banker has a slightly lower house edge than player. So here's a summary, right? The house edge for player is 1.235%, for Banker is 1.058%. So in this email question that was asked, the person's right that if you had a non-commission baccarat game, that you should bet on Banker and you'd end up beating the house. Well, but, you know, there is commission. Well, wait, what about easy baccarat? That's the game you mentioned. Easy baccarat doesn't have commission. Well, I said there's this rule about 3-card 7. And when you plug all of that in, the fact that 3-card sevens do happen, you still get a house edge. Now let me just show you a kind of an interesting thing here. If you look under that P column, that very top number, right, 0.022534, that is actually how often, if you bet on banker, that you will have a result that is a banker 3-card winning 7. And that's 2.25% of the time, 2.25% of the time, you will have that outcome, which means 2.25% of the time, if you're betting on banker, instead of winning 1 unit, you will push, which means that 2.25% of the time, you are falling behind by 1 unit from a game where there was simply the old-fashioned baccarat with no commission. So that is more often than people might think that happens, right? This happens 2.25% of the time, this banker 3-card 7, and that's enough. Now, the player bet doesn't change at all here. There's nothing about the rules here that changes the edge when you bet on player in this game, but betting on banker does change the house edge. And look, here's the amazing thing. If you happen to find this particular game, then you are actually playing with a house edge of 1.018%. In other words, you're playing with a lower house edge on banker bet in easy baccarat than in traditional baccarat, right? This is a variant of baccarat that is actually makes it even better for the player to bet on a banker bet than traditional baccarat. So if you happen to find an easy baccarat game, you better bet banker every single hand, because that is optimal play. Of course, unless you're spotting a card or you're card counting or you're edge sorting or something else, I don't know. But in ordinary basic strategy, there is no question that it is even better to bet on banker here. And just to sort of highlight exactly what I'm talking about here, there is this famous YouTuber. Well, he's getting famous very fast. His channel goes by the name of Vegas Matt on YouTube. And if you go to his channel, you will find him periodically posting these shorts where he makes a very, very large wager in baccarat. And what I will tell you is that every single time Vegas Matt makes a bet in baccarat, it is always on banker. Right? It is absolutely on banker every single time. Now, Vegas Matt, you know, he's got this channel and it kind of looks like he is just an average high-rolling gambler who really loves the ups and downs of winning and losing, but he is also has a team around him that understands the basic math. And they know that betting on banker is always going to have a lower house edge than betting on player. So he always makes this bet. Now, I have only ever seen Vegas Matt playing ordinary commission baccarat, and this 3-card 7 is a push baccarat. The problem that I have is what is going to happen if he happens to come across this other variation of baccarat called Super 6. Now, this particular variation is very, very popular throughout Asia. You'll find this on the main gaming floor of these massive casinos throughout Asia, you know, where they have 1,000 baccarat tables available at some of these places. It's just amazing how many of those tables will have this particular rule, because it makes it so much easier. They don't have to worry about commissions. Leave that to the high roller rooms, you know, the specialty tables, but on the main floor, no commission. They have this rule that is not easy baccarat. It's this rule that if you bet on banker and the banker has a winning total of 6, then that pays 1-2. All right, so that pays 1-2. So you see, here is another commission-free variation of baccarat. You bet on banker and it's a winning total of 6. That only pays 1-2. That has a house edge of 1.458%. Now look at that number, 1.458%. What do you see about that? Well, what you see is that that is now higher than the player wager, right? For the first time, we have a house edge on banker that is actually larger than the player. So there's absolutely no way, if you happen to be playing a commission-free variant of baccarat that has this rule, that you should be betting on banker. You should be betting on player every single time, right? Because player has the lower house edge. So we're talking basic strategy here. How to minimize your losses as just a recreational player is always to make the wager with the lowest house edge. So this is a shout out to you, Vegas Matt. If you happen to be playing one of your super large wagers, whatever casino you're at, and you notice the table you're on has the house rule, commission-free house rule, that a banker winning 6 is going to pay 1 to 2, please make your wager on player. All right, so that is why we have the title of this particular presentation to you being banker, 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 right? Because no, there are times when the best wager you should make is player. So, okay, everybody, I want to do something that I completely forget to do on nearly all of my videos, which is to give myself a shout out. So please subscribe to this channel. All right, you can subscribe, you can like this, you can leave a comment, leave me a question. Hopefully the question is going to be something that has nothing voodoo about it, because I don't like voodoo questions, but anything from basic strategy through advantage play, ask away. I love those questions. The other thing I want to do is give a shout out to this book that I have, all right, Advanced Advantage Play. Right, it took me 3.5 years to write this, and I had analyzed 170 different situations here where there are ways that you can get an edge, and I hope that you will buy a copy of this. It certainly supports me. It's only $21. You won't find a cheaper book for $21 that has more information on any topic anymore. So buy yourself a copy of Advanced Advantage Play. So all right, everyone, that's everything I have to say today. See you later.